I spent 8 years as a Marine Corps veteran with 3 combat tours in Afghanistan. The guys I served with became more than friends. They were my brothers. Ryan, Devin, Alex, Jason, and I formed an unbreakable bond that carried over into civilian life, where our wives became close too. But everything changed that summer afternoon when I accidentally overheard my wife Jessica and my buddies' wives laughing about their affairs during our backyard barbecue. None of us could have imagined the devastating chain of events that would follow our decision to expose their betrayals. Before I tell you how we uncovered this betrayal that changed all our lives forever, let me know where you are watching from and hit that subscribe button if you believe loyalty should mean something. The brotherhood between Ryan, Devin, Alex, Jason, and me was forged through blood, sweat, and tears across 3 grueling tours in Afghanistan. We had saved each other's lives in more ways than one. Ryan pulled me out of an ambush near Kandahar in 2012. I helped carry Devin 3 miles to an evacuation point after he took shrapnel in his leg. Alex and Jason once held a defensive position for 6 hours to ensure our unit could retreat safely. These weren't just wartime stories. They were the foundation of a bond that civilian life could never replicate or understand. When we returned stateside and began transitioning to civilian careers, we made a pact to stay in each other's lives. We all settled within 50 miles of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I became a security consultant for a defense contractor. Ryan worked in law enforcement. Devin started a construction company that often hired veterans. Alex joined the fire department, and Jason used his military medical training to become a physician assistant. Our wives formed their own support network during our deployments. Jessica, my wife of 6 years, organized care packages and hosted weekly dinners for the other wives. Megan, Ryan's high school sweetheart, was the quiet, dependable one. Amber, married to Devin, was outspoken and always the life of the party. Shannon was the newest addition, having married Alex right before our last deployment. Tara, Jason's wife, had medical training herself and often volunteered at the Veterans Hospital. We had a tradition of monthly barbecues that rotated between our homes. Holiday celebrations became elaborate affairs, with all 5 families gathering together. We took annual camping trips to the Blue Ridge Mountains, where we could decompress and share our struggles with transitioning to civilian life. Our children played together, and we were godparents to each other's kids. We were more than friends. We were family. Looking back, I should have noticed the warning signs. Jessica became increasingly protective of her phone, snatching it away when I walked into the room. There were unexplained absences times when she said she was shopping with the girls but returned without any bags. Our intimacy had dwindled over the previous year, with Jessica always having a headache or being too tired. But I trusted her completely. After all, she had stood by me through 3 deployments and my battle with PTSD upon returning home. The summer barbecue at our house last July seemed like any other gathering at first. The guys were manning the grill, trading the same old war stories that somehow never got old. The kids were playing on the water slide in the backyard. The wives had gathered in the sunroom adjacent to the kitchen, sipping wine and catching up. I ran out of ice for the coolers and headed to the garage freezer to get more. The direct route through the kitchen would save me time, so I took that path instead of going around the outside of the house. As I approached the kitchen, I heard laughter from the sunroom, which shared a thin wall with our kitchen. The sliding door between the rooms was mostly closed, but still ajar by a few inches. I was about to announce myself when I heard Jessica's voice. "What they do not know will not hurt them. They are gone so much anyway." That stopped me in my tracks. Something in her tone made my blood run cold. "Military men make great husbands on paper," came Amber's voice, slightly slurred from wine. "Steady paycheck, good benefits, and they are never home enough to catch on." I froze, the empty ice container clutched in my hands. Part of me wanted to burst through that door and confront them, but my military training kept me silent, gathering intelligence. "Mike has been asking when I can spend a whole weekend with him," Jessica continued. "I told him Mac is going to that security conference in Atlanta next month, so we will have 3 full days. Mike, her personal trainer, the guy I had paid for as a gift on her 30th birthday 2 years ago. At least you only have one side piece," Megan said with a giggle that sounded nothing like the shy woman I thought I knew. Mark from next door has gotten so bold he actually waves at Ryan when they pass each other in the driveway. Amateur's Amber scoffed. I have been juggling David from accounting and Chris from the gym for almost 3 years. And Devin has no clue. Men see what they want to see. Shannon chimed in. The close call I had was when Alex came home early from his shift and almost caught James leaving. I had to pretend James was there to look at our broken water heater. James, the husband of another military wife in our support group. Then Tara spoke, her voice smaller than the others. Sometimes I feel guilty. Especially since it is with Peter. Peter, Jason's younger brother. Guilt is for the weak, Amber replied harshly. These guys signed up to serve their country, not for us to serve a life sentence of loneliness. They chose the military over us every time they re-enlisted or volunteered for another tour. True, Jessica agreed, and I could almost hear the shrug in her voice. They left us alone. Can they really blame us for finding comfort elsewhere? I backed away silently, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped the ice container. I forced myself to take several deep breaths the way my therapist had taught me to manage PTSD episodes. Then I circled around to the garage, got the ice, and returned to the backyard where my brothers were still grilling, completely unaware that their lives were about to implode. I looked at them, laughing, sharing stories, trusting that the women inside were as loyal as we had been to each other. In that moment I made a decision. I would not react immediately. I would investigate, confirm what I had heard, and then we would respond together as we had done in combat. No man would be left behind. For 3 days I moved through life like a ghost, unable to eat or sleep properly. Jessica noticed my distance, but attributed it to PTSD, a convenient explanation I did not correct. I needed time and evidence before confronting her. I installed hidden cameras in our living room and bedroom, while Jessica was at her yoga class. I placed an audio recorder under the coffee table in the family room. That night I pretended to take a sleeping pill and feigned deep sleep. Once Jessica was snoring lightly beside me, I carefully took her phone to the bathroom. She had changed her password recently, but I knew her patterns. 4 attempts later I was in. The evidence was devastating. Text messages to Mike, going back 20 months, explicit photos sent between them, detailed plans for their rendezvous. She had a separate email account I had never known about, used exclusively for their communication. There were hotel reservations, confirmations for gifts he had sent her, and even a shared cloud folder with videos I could not bring myself to watch. I documented everything, sending copies to my secure work email before returning her phone exactly as I had found it. By morning I had irrefutable proof, but I felt hollow inside. 15 years together, 6 years of marriage, all built on a foundation of lies. I contacted Ryan, first choosing to meet him at a shooting range, where the noise would prevent anyone from overhearing our conversation. When I told him what I had discovered, his first reaction was rage, slamming his fist into the wall of the booth. Then came denial. There must be some misunderstanding, he insisted, even as his hands shook while reloading his weapon. Megan would never. I thought the same about Jessica, I replied quietly. But I have proof, and we need to find out if this goes beyond what I overheard. Ryan agreed to investigate. 2 days later he called me at 3 a.m, his voice broken. You were right. All of it. Mark from next door. Going on for at least a year. He had found explicit messages, had even installed a trail camera facing their home that caught Mark sneaking in within hours of Ryan leaving for his shift. We brought Devin in next. His reaction was cold fury, a controlled rage I had only seen from him once before during an intense firefight in Helmand Province. Amber always accused me of cheating on deployment, he said, laughing without humor. Classic projection. Alex responded with quiet devastation. He had suspected something was wrong but attributed it to Shannon's recent miscarriage. The reality that she was sleeping with our friend James while they were supposedly trying to have another baby broke something in him. Jason took it the hardest. My brother, he kept repeating, staring at the text evidence on his phone. my own flesh and blood. We gathered at a cabin Devon owned in the mountains away from cell service and potential listening ears. For 2 days we shared our findings, supported each other through breakdowns, and formulated a plan. We decided on a coordinated approach rather than individual confrontations. The women had betrayed us together, laughing at our expense as a group. Our response would come as a united front. We consulted with Sergeant Martinez, now a military-friendly attorney who had served with Ryan's older brother. He laid out our options, helped us secure our finances, and prepared divorce filings for all 5 of us. We learned that North Carolina was an alienation of affection state, meaning we could potentially sue the affair partners for damages. We documented everything meticulously. For 3 agonizing weeks, we maintained normal appearances at home. I pretended nothing was wrong, kissed Jessica goodbye each morning, and even attended a dinner party at Ryan and Megan's house, where all 5 couples acted out their marital charades. The wives continued their secret conversations, unaware that we now had recording devices in each of our homes. The night before our plan was to be executed, we met once more at the cabin. Once we do this, there is no going back, I reminded everyone. The fallout will be massive. We have already lost everything that mattered, Jason said quietly. The marriages we thought we had never existed. Devon raised his glass of bourbon to brotherhood, the only loyalty that has never wavered. We all drank to that, our last toast before the storm we were about to unleash. We chose a Tuesday for our coordinated strike. All 5 of us called in sick to work, waited until our wives left for their day, and used those morning hours to pack essential belongings and secure temporary housing. I moved into a furnished apartment I had rented under my company's name the week before. Ryan would stay with his brother. Devon had his cabin. Alex arranged a month-long rental near the fire station. Jason would bunk with a fellow physician assistant. At precisely 11:30 that morning process, servers delivered divorce papers to all 5 wives at their respective locations. Jessica was served at her yoga studio, the manila envelope containing not just legal documents, but printed screenshots of her text exchanges with Mike. I had arranged for the server to say, "Mrs. Walker, these are divorce papers from your husband Mac. He said to tell you that he knows about Mike." Within 20 minutes my phone exploded with notifications. Jessica called 17 times in rapid succession. Her texts ranged from confused, "What is going on?" to angry, "You had me served at yoga," to panicked, "Please call me, we need to talk." I silenced her number. The wives' group text, which I now had access to through our home computer, erupted in chaos. They quickly realized they had all been served simultaneously. Ryan knows about Mark. Devon knows everything. How did they find out? We need to get our story straight. Did anyone talk? I sent a single text to Jessica. I heard you all in the sunroom at our barbecue. Every word. Do not contact me except through my attorney. Amber took charge of their crisis just as she had led their infidelity. Deny everything. Say it was just talk, just fantasies. They have no proof. She was wrong, of course. We had mountains of evidence. The next phase of our plan unfolded that evening. We had created a private digital folder for each of our close friends and family members containing selected evidence of the affairs. Not the explicit material, but enough text conversations and photos to establish the truth beyond doubt. At 6 p.m., we simultaneously sent access links to those folders to our parents' siblings and closest friends. Jessica's parents called me immediately. Her father, who had welcomed me into their family and treated me like the son he never had, was in tears. "Tell me this is not true, Mac," he begged. I could only respond with silence, which answered his question. Amber attempted to spin the situation, contacting mutual friends with claims that we were controlling, emotionally abusive, and had driven them to seek comfort elsewhere. This strategy backfired spectacularly when Ryan released the audio recording from our barbecue, where Amber herself had dismissed guilt as weakness and mocked their husband's military service. Within 3 days, the community fallout was massive. Our friends took sides, mostly supporting us, once the evidence became clear. The base community, largely military families who understood the sacrifice of deployment, turned their backs on the wives completely. Jessica lost her job at the real estate office when her affair with a client's husband came to light. Megan's parents, devout Catholics who had welcomed Ryan like family, refused to let her move back home. Shannon became a pariah in our neighborhood, especially among the military wives whose husbands had served with us. The most devastating consequences began unfolding during the second week. Shannon's affair partner James, who was married with 2 young children, took his own life after his wife left with their kids and filed for sole custody. He was found in his garage with the car running a note apologizing to his children but not to his wife. This tragedy sent shockwaves through our community. Ryan and I met to discuss whether we had gone too far, whether the public exposure had been necessary. But Devin reminded us we did not cause this. Their actions did. We just brought the truth to light. 3 days after James's suicide, Jessica's sister called me in hysterics. She had gone to check on Jessica after not hearing from her for 2 days and found her unconscious on the bathroom floor, an empty bottle of sleeping pills beside her. Jessica had survived only because her sister had a spare key and decided to stop by. I sat in the hospital waiting room for 6 hours while Jessica was treated and stabilized. Though I refused to see her, I needed to know she would survive. Her mother approached me, eyes swollen from crying. She made a terrible mistake, she pleaded, but she does not deserve to die for it. I did not wish this on her. I responded honestly. I just could not stay in a marriage built on lies. Jessica was transferred to a psychiatric facility for treatment. Meanwhile, Amber's life continued its spectacular implosion. Her affair with her married boss became known throughout their company, resulting in both of them being terminated. Her ex-husband from a previous marriage used the infidelity evidence to file for full custody of their 8-year-old son, which the court granted given the circumstances. Amber's deeply religious parents publicly disowned her, her father stating he had no daughter who would behave this way. When she could no longer afford her apartment, she attempted to stay with several of her affair partners, all of whom refused. The last we heard, she was living in her car until a distant cousin took her in. The pressure on me began mounting as Jessica's condition stabilized. First came the phone calls from her parents, then her siblings. Finally, a full family intervention at my apartment, where her father, the man who had once proudly walked her down the aisle to me, broke down completely. "You have punished her enough, Mac," he insisted. "She has lost everything. Her job, her home, her dignity, nearly her life. What more do you want?" I struggled to make them understand that this was not about punishment. This is about consequences, not revenge. I tried to explain. I cannot rebuild a relationship where the foundation was a lie. Her mother grabbed my hands, tears streaming down her face. "She was a good wife to you for years. One mistake should not erase all that." It was not one mistake, I corrected gently. It was hundreds of choices over years to betray my trust. And she was not sorry until she got caught. They left defeated but not deterred. The pressure would continue for months to come. 6 months after what our friend group now referred to simply as the Tuesday, I had established a new routine. Weekly therapy sessions helped me process the betrayal trauma. I threw myself into work, earning a promotion to security director for the Eastern region. My apartment began feeling like home after I adopted a German Shepherd named Ranger from a veterans service dog program. My military brothers remained my strongest support system. We still met regularly, though our gatherings were quieter, now more reflective. Ryan had relocated to Colorado for a fresh start, sending us pictures of mountain hikes and his new cabin. Devin surprised us all by reconnecting with his college girlfriend Jennifer, who had never married. They were now engaged, with Jennifer fully aware of his past and the trust issues he was working through. Alex focused entirely on his children, becoming both mother and father to them, while Shannon moved to Florida with her parents. Jason had the hardest journey, working to rebuild his relationship with his brother Peter while processing the dual betrayal. They were speaking again, though the ease of their former relationship seemed permanently damaged. I maintained my decision not to directly contact Jessica, though I received regular updates about her condition through her family. After 8 weeks in the psychiatric facility, she had moved in with her older sister, found a part-time job at a local bookstore, and was attending therapy twice weekly. Her suicide attempt had been a turning point, forcing her to confront the person she had become. Against my therapist's advice, but following my own conscience, I finally agreed to meet Jessica at a coffee shop near her sister's home. She looked smaller somehow, the confident woman I had married, replaced by someone visibly carrying the weight of her choices. The diamond engagement ring and wedding band were notably absent from her finger. "Thank you for coming," she began, her voice steady, despite her trembling hands. "I did not think you would." "I almost did not," I admitted. For nearly an hour she spoke without interruption, taking full responsibility without excuses. She had begun therapy for childhood abandonment issues that had manifested in seeking validation outside our marriage. She acknowledged the cruel way she had spoken about me to her friends, the countless lies, the selfishness of her actions. "I do not expect forgiveness," she concluded. "I just needed you to know that I understand now what I destroyed, and I live with that regret every day." I considered my words carefully. "I forgive you, Jessica," I finally said, watching surprise flash across her face. "Not for you, but for me. I cannot carry this anger forever." Hope flickered in her eyes. "Does that mean there is a chance for us?" "No," I said gently but firmly. "Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. Some things once broken cannot be put back together the same way." She nodded slowly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I understand. I just want you to know that losing you made me realize what real love should have been. I will spend the rest of my life trying to become someone worthy of that kind of love, even if it is not with you." As I walked back to my car, I felt a weight lift that I had been carrying for months. Forgiveness was not about erasing the past, but about freeing myself from its grip on my future. That future began taking shape unexpectedly when I visited a local bookstore searching for resources on trauma recovery. The owner, Claire, recommended several books from behind the counter. Our conversation revealed she had also experienced betrayal in her previous marriage. Coffee turned into dinner, dinner into regular conversations, and gradually trust began rebuilding. Unlike my relationship with Jessica, which had rushed forward on physical attraction and youthful impulsivity, Claire and I moved deliberately with clear communication and established boundaries. 6 months into knowing her, I felt more genuinely known than I had in 13 years with Jessica. As for my military brothers, each found his own path forward. Ryan met a fellow police officer in Colorado who understood the unique challenges of law enforcement relationships. Devin and Jennifer married in a small ceremony where he spoke vows about rebuilding trust that left no dry eyes. Alex began dating a single mother from his children's school who approached their blended family with patient compassion. Jason remained single, focusing on healing and rebuilding his relationship with his brother. The ex-wives followed divergent paths as well. Jessica found purpose working at a women's crisis center, helping others avoid the destructive choices she had made. Megan eventually returned to her hometown in Ohio, humbled and starting over. Tara, to everyone's alarm, began dating another military service member, prompting Jason to anonymously warn the man about her history. Shannon remained in Florida, rarely contacting Alex except regarding their children. And Amber, last we heard, was still struggling to rebuild any semblance of stability, working minimum wage jobs and living in subsidized housing. Jessica's family eventually stopped pressuring me to reconcile with her, especially after meeting Claire and seeing the peaceful relationship we were building. Her father, who had once insisted I had punished Jessica enough, pulled me aside at a chance meeting in town. "I was wrong," he admitted. "This was never about punishment. It was about you finding happiness you deserve." His approval was unexpected, but healing for us both. Looking back on everything that happened, I realized that true loyalty cannot be demanded, only freely given. My military brothers and I had demonstrated that loyalty in combat and in crisis. Our wives had chosen a different path, one that ultimately led to devastation for everyone involved. The tragedy of James's suicide and Jessica's attempt would always haunt me, reminders that our actions, even in betrayal or response to betrayal, can have unintended consequences. I also learned that forgiveness and reconciliation are two separate journeys. One can forgive without resuming a relationship. Standing firm in my decision to divorce Jessica was not about continued punishment, but about respecting myself enough to seek the honest partnership I deserved. Have you ever had to choose between forgiveness and reconciliation? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story taught you something about loyalty, boundaries, or healing, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up so others facing similar challenges can find it. Consider sharing it with someone struggling with betrayal who needs to know they are not alone. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember that standing firm in your boundaries is not about punishing others, but about honoring your own worth. Sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most necessary growth.